Welcome to Design Diary, the podcast where you get to look inside my board game design notebook as well as what's going on inside my head. We look at a new word each day from the sense of mechanics, tone, theme, or inspiration for a full game. Today's word is
Croesus, a very rich man, and that's capital C, Roesus. An example is, our young handsome hero is an international man of mystery, fresh off the boat to London with no introduction but a note for £1,000 sterling, a fortune worthy of Croesus and enough to break a trading house. I'd marry Lord Merton. He's the silverest of silver foxes. He's richer than Croesus. He's charming. So Croesus was actually a person, and somehow his name ended up in this dictionary because he was known as just extremely wealthy, the subject of legends. He was known as being filthy rich. Like, his name just meant filthy rich. So I took an approach to this where at first I kind of bounced around, but I wrote to become the name that is associated with something. So, like, for your name to be 100% one thing and nothing else, to be the best at one thing, to the point where your name replaces it. It's kind of like that thing where, like, Band-Aid has taken over adhesive bandages. Croesus has taken over being very rich. And one of the example here was he's richer than Croesus, which was interesting to me because you're richer than the person that it's named for. So that's interesting. So the name should then shift to you, but I guess it doesn't because it's a thing of legend, and we always surpass the previous record holder. I also wrote filthy rich is something beyond is taking something beyond its intention and going so far into good that things become bad. And the one example I thought about that was when someone wins the lottery and then things go bad after that. They go poorly. And I read a lot about that, and I'll get back into that in a minute here in the theme section. So mechanics, I wrote, if you ever have more than all the other players, and whether that's money or resources or units or whatever it is, you must distribute your excess down to the player beneath you. So there can never be more than one player in first place. First place is in whatever you're counting. If it's, let's just say it's money, you can never be richer than a other player. So the first player, the person with the most money, has to distribute down. They can't distribute to the person directly beneath them. They can distribute to the lower players, or I wrote they can make donations, and there can be something involved with how you make donations. A cool example of making donations is when you donate to the Queen in Livingstone. As the game goes on, during your turn, you can just announce, I'm donating to the Queen, stick a coin of unknown value into your little treasure box, and then at the end of the game, the player that donated the least loses, no matter how well they did otherwise. So I love that about Livingstone, and that's one of the things that could be neat here, where if you have excess, you have to donate it, and there could be something tied to that donation. Other mechanics I wrote, having a deaded area that can hold your money. And like, I'm talking about a tactile space on a little board or tableau or something along those lines. And once your amount of money exceeds that area, your wealth is known and you're prone to, like, robbers and theft. And this might not be other players, because other players can see it as it's growing, but it could be some sort of AI that you become a target once you exceed that area. There could be a dexterity element where you could build up before it goes out and exceeds it. Dexterity is hit or miss, so it depends on the game. But there are two sides to that. One, you could just place flat, and if it exceeds it, you're in trouble. And then with that, we got into this a couple episodes ago where the value of each thing could be different. So each coin, say you're putting coins in this little space that's the size of like a playing card, like a coin that's worth $1 and a coin that's worth a $50 could be the same size. So there's something interesting in the economy of your space there and using larger value coins. But if it's dexterity, you can stack them up, and eventually it's going to pyramid out and shoot off to the sides. Kind of like one of those little coin games in the arcade where you're flicking the coins in, and they're piling up, and eventually they're going to go over the edge. In this case, you don't want them to go over the edge. I had another mechanic. This one's very mechanic heavy. A game where various things are drafted, and the person that is known for each type of thing that's drafted gets to go first for that draft. So let's say money, land, power, whatever they are. Each one is a category, and somebody is the top of each category, and they're the Croesus of their category. The position of other players around them is very important, as you might want to be the neighbor of the richest person. So the order of the draft would be fluctuating. Maybe you even bid for it, or use an action for it, or whatever it is you want to position yourself in the best position for the draft. If the richest person is to my right, then they're going to pass me the cards second, and I'm going to take. If the richest person is also the most powerful, they're getting two different items first. They're getting first dibs twice. And the whole theme of this is the rich gets richer, which is usually a bad thing in gaming. But I think if you embrace it and try to, take on that thing where if the rich gets too rich, it can be a problem. Like the whole greed of the lottery. The lottery is not so much greed, but after they win, it becomes this. It's terrible. And I'm going to get to that right now in the theme section. So I'm bouncing around quickly, but here we go. Themes. Going back to the lottery and the stories about how bad things can happen after winning the lottery. The rate of bankruptcy after winning the lottery, the rate of murder or being murdered, being robbed by a family member, murdering a family member. All of these things are exceptionally high after you win a large sum of money, and even higher with the largest sums of money. So I wrote a one versus many game where one player is a lottery winner and the rest are friends and family, which can be very sad because friends and family are going to pull from them, being in the lesser position financially, and then they're going to need to save them as they eventually decline. And I wrote that's a little too linear for my style, where you have to pull from them and then you have to save them. It's kind of one of those things where, you're not giving players the choice. You're kind of forcing them to do it. But maybe you don't force them. Maybe you can decide to pull from them and then just keep going and not try to save them and let them go. Or maybe you just don't pull from them, and then you have to save them, and then you do try. I don't know. It's a little too linear. It's also a big downer, so it's an odd thing. But there is something in that once you have a lot of money or value or power or whatever it is, there is a tipping point where it goes from good to not specifically bad, but the chance of it being bad is much higher. The odds of things getting worse, the chance of you getting accustomed to spending a lot of money at a time and then trying to back down from that is difficult. So I think that's a neat theme. But from a mechanic side, I like this draft. I like this area that can hold your money. And I like the idea of a player in the lead trying to distribute out to other players. So that's what I got. Hopefully you get something for today. Join us on Board Game Geek to chat, share your ideas on Twitter or wherever, and we'll catch you again tomorrow. Thanks again. See ya.